Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we are here to discuss about Python, the complete basics that you need to start coding in Python. Okay, let's quickly get started. Before that, I will tell you what are all the things that's going to be covered in this video. So basically, I'm first going to start with covering data types. Okay, then I will be covering different variables. Okay, variable naming convention, all of them will be taught. Next is if else statements, okay, then for loops, while loops, and do while loops. Next is functions and lambda functions. What are all the different data structures? List, set, frozen set, dictionaries, tuples, all of them would be covered. So this is the target of this video. By the end of this video, you will be able to comfortably code in basic Python without the need of actually going and looking at some references. Okay, let's get started. If you see here, this one, basically any programming language starts with printing hello world. Okay, hello world here is a string which gets printed with the Python command print, so you get this thing hello world. Next is uh, the version check in Jupyter notebook. This is actually the Jupyter notebook. Okay, it is not a Python any code terminal, but it is a Jupyter notebook where you can just mostly used in data science industry to do some experiments, all of that. Okay, so if you see here, this is Python and version. Okay, if you simply execute this Python version in the command prompt, it will tell you what is the actual version of the Python installed in your computer. But in a Jupyter notebook, you have to put this particular exclamatory mark to mention that this is a command which you have to execute in the terminal and tell me what is the actual output of this command. Here in this case, Python 3.9.2 is the command. Next is b is equal to 10 type of b. Here what is being tried to done? 10 is stored in the variable b, and by printing type of b, I am printing the data type of b. Okay, Python automatically understands what is the data type of a variable. Instead, me actually defining, in case of C++ and Java, I have to tell that int a is equal to 10. By this, C++ understands that a is a int type variable holding a variable value of integer type. Okay, but here in Python automatically understands this is an int type variable. Next is, if you see here, it is a simple list where it is 10 comma 11, and I am trying to print the type of this. It directly prints that it is a list. This is a tuple. Okay, tuple goes like this, and when I print the type of this, it just tells it is a tuple. There are some differences between both of them. I will just go ahead and tell you when I'm going to move ahead to those specific topics. Okay, next is typecasting. For example, if you see here, num is declared to 3. Basically, this 3 is an integer. Python understood that this is an integer. Okay, that is what it has told. Hey, this is an integer. Now, if I wanted to convert this int to a float variable, what would I do is I can just put a command called float here and then put the actual variable num. And when I'm printing this, it tells me 3.0. Okay, because I have tried to convert this into a float type. Okay. It first of all, it was an int type. Next is declaring the strings with different codes. If you want to declare a string in Python, you can either declare it with one single quote or two quotes. Okay, there is no difference. Both of the times I have declared with 1 and 2 here, still both of them the type is string, as you see here. Okay, next is variables. So a variable naming convention, it can start with an underscore. A is equal to 5. It is allowed to use underscore but you are not allowed to use any other symbols, like for example something like this is not allowed, something like this is not allowed. Okay, but Python accepts this naming convention. It can be something like, for example, my var. So this is allowed, underscore var, this is allowed, my var, this is also allowed. Okay, so next is, if you see here, num int 342, I have declared this type of a variable is also allowed in Python. In here, if you see, I have put a hyphen here between num and integer, making sure it is a variable. But what had Python told me, cannot assign to operator, which means how will you, this is an operator, this together doesn't form an actual variable. Only if that forms as a variable, I can store this 5 integer in this variable. This itself is a failure here. So that is what Python tells me. Hey, this is trying to assign to an operator and this is not possible. Okay, you can create variable names with this hyphen. Next is, there are three different ways in which you actually represent a variable name. One is mine camel case, another is Pascal case, another is snake case. Okay, if you see here, these are nothing but the naming convention of the variables. How can you name a variable to make it look good, or easier to understand, and easier to basically uh, that is the naming convention being followed in a very standard practice in most of the places. Okay, so if you see here, camel case, what does a camel case mean? First character of a word is capital except the first word, which means here my number camel case. Here the first word's first character m is not capital. Okay, it is in small. The remaining words are starting with capital letters. Okay, next is Pascal case. All words starts with a capital letter. Every word will start with a capital letter. If you see here, m, n, c, c, everything starts with a capital letter. Snake case, each and every word is separated by underscore. User underscore name. Okay, so this is what a snake case means. Next is multiple variables. For example, I could just do as first name is equal to Gautam, last name is equal to Shivam, city is equal to Chennai. I can just do it like that. But the thing is, if I wanted to do it in a single line, I could do it this way. Okay, first name is last name city. It automatically goes and sits here. Shivam goes and sits here, and then Chennai goes and sits to city. So when I print these three variables, you could see that Gautam, Shivam, Chennai, everything coming up properly. Okay. Next is same value to multiple variables. First name, last name, city. All these three variables are assigned to Gautam, Shivam. When I print only first name, it tells Gautam Shivam the complete thing. Last name tells something completely. City tells completely. Okay. So basically, this is assigned to all the three variables. Next is picking the correct value for variables from the list. I have defined something like a person metadata, which is basically a list containing strings. Okay. So these three are the strings here. First name, last name, city. Now I have defined these three variables and I have pointed it to this particular list. So what will happen is, it will just take the value, map it to this, it will just map to the respective indexes. Okay, so what happens when I print, it tells Gautam, Shivam, Chennai. Basically here we are understanding how to actually initiate the list to the variables and declare to them. Okay, next is printing versus simple looking. Okay, what is the difference between actually in Jupyter Notebook, right? I can just put this variable name without a print statements and still it would just continue to print. Okay, but there is a difference between actually doing this and just putting this. Okay, so what is the difference? If you see this particular string here, I have discussed here I have put a escape character /n, which means this represents that whatever the content that is present after this must be present in the next line. If you see here, without using a print statement, if I just print this, what happens is it doesn't actually print the things after this one in the next line. Instead, it actually prints the thing directly in one single line itself. Okay. Next is, if you see here, I'm printing it. Okay. When I print it, this character, whatever is present after this character, is actually printed in the next line. Okay. There are two separate lines here. So this is a difference. Next is simple addition. This is all like a is equal to 5, b is equal to 10, just adding them. Addition of two different types. Okay, if you see here, addition of two different types. A is equal to 5, b is equal to subscribe to my channel. Okay, 5 is an integer variable and b is a string. Okay, which means how will this be added to this one? This is not possible, right? Unsupported operator for plus. How will I add int str? It is an error. That is what Python tells you. We can't add two different data types. Okay. Next is typecasting A to see what happens. For example, A is equal to str of 5. If you see here, what happened? I couldn't add this both. But what if I try to convert this to string and then try to add them both? Converted to string, added them both, I'm getting 5 subscribed to my channel, which means this 5 is considered as a character or a string and then got concatenated with the B string. Okay. Next is global variables. Okay. What are global variables? Next, if you see here, I have declared name is equal to Gautam. Def my sync. Okay. This is my function. Okay. This is my function. Inside here also, I have defined something like name is equal to Vijay. Okay. So whenever this function is being called, it goes here. Okay. Takes the variable name and prints, hey, I am Vijay. Okay. This is what being printed here. Next is, if I try to just do a simple print I am name, it prints the variable from here, because to this function, this is the most locally declared one. So it will pick this value. But generally when I'm trying to print this, it picks the global variable. Okay. Next is, there is a keyword called as global keyword itself. How do you use them? Okay. If you see here, I have used a keyword called as global, and I have used a variable called as friend name. I have defined something like friend name is equal to Dinesh. Okay. So when it's friend name is equal to Dinesh, what happens is this my function will go there, takes this particular function, makes this particular variable as a global variable, and assigns Dinesh to that particular global variable. His name is, I'm just printing here. Here I'm not making any function calls. Okay. His name is friend name. This friend name, since it is defined as a global variable, it's taken as Dinesh here. Even though this is local to the function, this variable is local to the function, we have used this keyword which makes it available globally to all the to the complete program that is there. Okay. Next is data types. What are all the different data types present? String, int, float, complex. What is this complex? 3 plus ij. We have learnt in school days, right? Like how do you represent an imaginary number and a real number? So 3 plus 5j. Okay, so this is this together we will call it as a complex number, right? Next is list, tuple, range. Okay, range we use it to just range we next is dict, where we used to actually dict is basically a key value pair kind of a data structure. Next is set, next is frozen set, next is boolean type, which is bool, next is binary types, bytes, next is byte array, memory view. These are all the different types. Okay, none view is nothing but the none type. Okay, let me just get started with all the different data types and how it all works like. Okay, here if you see, there is something I have declared as my string. Okay, and there is something called as hello world. This is a string declared to the variable my string. Okay, print my string. What happens? It just prints this variable. Okay, which is hello world. Next is, what you have to understand is strings are immutable. For example, you wanted to change this particular character alone. Instead of O, you wanted to put an yes there. What would you do? My underscore string. Few programming languages accepts it, but here if you see 0 1 2 3 4, if you do this like this is not allowed. Okay, immutable in the sense once it's declared you can't change it. That is what immutable means. Okay, next is my int, my float, my complex, where I have declared three different variable types. This is an int, float, and complex number. When I print it, it prints the three different data types. Okay, next is sequence types. As we discussed, list, tuple, and range. Okay, what does this mean? My list 1 2 3 4 5, it is mutable, which means I can tell my list of third index is equal to 4. What it would do? 0 1 2 3. It will just change this value in the third index to the number which we are declaring here. Okay, which means it is mutable. I can go and change the values present in the list. Okay, next is tuples. If you see here, tuples are immutable. Okay, which means I can't index a value specific and I can't change the values inside a tuple. Next is a range. Between the range of 0 to 10, I want to increment 2. Okay, let's print this. Okay, when I print this my list, it prints this. When I print the tuple, it prints this. When I print this my range, which is a range between 0 to 10, which gets incremented in the plus 2 category, it prints 0 2 4 6 8. Understand, 10 is not printed. Okay, 0 to 10 incremented by 2, 0 plus 2 is 2, 4 6 8. That is how it gets printed. Okay, this is for something like a stepping, increment stepping, we can tell it like that. Okay. Next is, what is a dictionary? Unordered collection of key value pairs. Okay. Basically in dictionary, this is called as a key and this is called as an answer, which is a value. Okay. Age is a key, 23 is a value. If you see here, key value pair. Keys are unique and immutable and values can be of any data type. Okay. Which means I can't have multiple keys called as name. I can only have one key called as a name in a dictionary. Here, I'm just, how can I index and print this? This is the my dictionary. I wanted to index the key called as name. I can just put it in apostrophes and then I will get the particular value that is assigned to this particular key. Okay. So keys are unique and immutable and values can be of any data type. Okay. The data, any data here, if you see, string is defined and it is of int. Okay. Again, string. So it's a mix and it allows it. Okay. Next is sets. Okay. In sets, there are two types of states. One is frozen sets, another one is normal sets. So sets are basically like, there can't be repetitive elements. In a set, there can be only unique set of elements. There can be repeating elements. Okay. If you see here, my set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Okay. Here 5 is declared twice. Okay. But when I'm printing this, you see that only once this 5 is present. That is what set does. Okay. Next is frozen set. Here frozen set also holds the same property, but it doesn't let me modify the data. Okay. Which means frozen sets are immutable and sets are mutable in nature. Mutable you can change, immutable you can't change the values. Okay. That is what it means. Next is, this is simple like Boolean type, true or false. Okay. I'm just printing them. Next is binary types, represents the sequence of bytes. Okay. Bytes are immutable while byte array is mutable. Okay. You have to note this. Bytes are immutable and byte array is mutable. Okay. Next is memory view, provides a view on the memory, allowing you to operate on the underlying bytes. You could take the specific memory allocation. If you see here, there is a memory location. I can take this and work on that particular location. Okay. By reading the bytes there. So that is what binary types are like. This is a simple none type. I have declared this variable to none and printing it tells none. Okay. So if there is something like if statement, if none print true, what happens is this doesn't get executed because none means basically this is 0 and none means this is basically 0 and it doesn't get executed. Okay. Next is printing a random value, which means random. I'm importing this library called as random and there is a random dot. I'm calling this method from this random library, which is 1 to 200. On the first time it prints me 66. In the same range, for the second time it prints me 154 and the third time it prints me 168. This is what randomly it keeps on generating different values. Let's move to strings next. If you see here, I have defined a string called as details and my name is Gautam. Okay. Printing it. My name is Gautam. Next is, this is multi-line strings. How do you define a multi-line string? You have to use 3 quotes or you can use 3 double quotes or 3 single quotes. That's how you define a multi-line strings. Next is, this is called as slicing operation. Sorry for this index, that's wrong. This is slicing operation, which means I'm starting from the 0th character and asking it to go till the 5th character. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Okay, so it prints the first 5 characters here. Next is length of the details, prints the total number of characters that is present, including the spaces. Okay, 65. Next is if hey in details. If you see here in the details variable, I have declared something called as hey. If I put this if hey in details, what happens is it checks if it's hey is present. Yeah, it is present. So it prints me yes, it presents. Okay, there is something called as here. What you have to understand is the in keyword. Okay. Next is if hey not in details. Okay. Hey is actually in details. Okay. Which means hey exists. It tells this is not actually running. Instead, this gets to execute and then you get hey exist. Okay. Next is converting the string to upper. If you with this function you can convert everything to capitals, and with this you can convert everything to small. Okay. Next is if you see here, hello world. Okay, strip function, which means there is a trailing space. Okay, If I use a strip function, it just removes the space on both the sides. Okay, there are functions like L strip and R strip. If I wanted to only remove the space that's present on the left side, I can just use the L strip function. If I want to only remove the space from the right side, I can use only the R strip function. Okay, next is replace. I can replace the character H with J. If you see here, H is replaced with J, and you see hello, instead of hello world, you see jello world. Okay, so next is splitting based on the comma. Okay, if I split it based on the comma, it creates a list with two words, hello world. Okay, and now I can index it like 0, which means to point to this, and 1 will point to this one, 0 and 1. Next is first name, last name. First name plus there is a space, and then I'm putting a last name. Okay, which means Gautam Sivam, there is a space in between. This is being concatenated. Okay, basically like concatenating and joining the string. Next is how to use this format type. Age is equal to 23. Text is equal to my name is Gautam and I am, what is this? This is the place where the value actually comes in. Okay, text dot format age. So whatever the value present here goes here directly. Okay, next, formatting with multiple parameters. What does multiple parameters mean? I have these three things and I wanted to add this three data to this particular bio variable. Okay, if you see here, bio.format, name, age, occupation. So what happens is name goes and sits here first, age goes and sits here, occupation goes and sits here. That is what you see as, hey, hello, my name is Gautam. That is here. I am 23, and then SDE. Okay. Next is added indexing in the format. Okay, name is equal to Gautam, age is equal to 23. How do I actually index the particular formats? Okay, name goes and sits here, 0. Name is 0, so the value here goes and sits here. Okay, age goes and sits here, occupation goes and sits here. 0, 1, 2. Okay, so here 0 goes maps here, 1 here, 2 here, like that. Okay, so basically again it prints the same statement. Adding a word in the string in between. Okay, T20 IPL. Okay, adding a word in the string in between. Okay, so basically if you see, I want to make this IPL trophy as double quoted one. How do I do that? There is something called as this backslash operator, where you could mention in this particular format to get it printed like this. Within a string you can declare like that. Okay, so you need to understand that. Next is Boolean. A function can be made to return either it's true or false. Is even of 4. 4 we know it is even. What happens is even? It goes here. 4 goes here. 4 mod 2. Yeah, 4 mod 2 is 0. Okay, so what happens is this tells me, yeah, it is true. So it checks, yeah, this is true, and it prints, yes, it's even. Okay, next is check the data type of an object. X is equal to 200. Okay, how do I check if this variable is int? Okay, is instance function where it takes x as a value and it checks int is actually the type of this 200. Okay, next is checking if it is a string. Is 200 a string? No, it is not a string, so it tells false. Okay, so there are different operators like in other languages. We have different operators in Python as well. So they are arithmetic, assignment, comparison, logical, identity, membership operators, and bitwise operators. I will go over them one by one. Okay, you know this addition operator, uh, subtraction, multiplication. This is division. This is floor division. Okay, so if you see the output here, floor division tells 2 here. Okay, where is a 10 by 5? I get a 2 here. Okay, so next is I have this operator called as modulus operator. So what this modulus operator means, like, so basically when we are actually doing some division, we take the quotient value, right? This modulus operator will help us to take the remainder value. Okay, so mod of, what was it, mod of 5 is 0, right? So that is what you get here, remainder will be 0. Next is exponentiation operator, which means like what happens is 10 5, right? 10 star star 2 will happen here. Okay, next is assignment operator. X is equal to 10, y is equal to 5. X plus, okay, here what they have given, x plus is equal to y, which means automatically x is equal to x plus y. Okay, so this is one way of representing. Okay, if you even represent it this way, it is also correct, but this is much better. Okay, so this is one more option that we get at Python to I have noted something during some DSA questions while solving and all. I have seen cases where we use this one and it's much more quicker than using this one. Okay, so basically subtraction, multiplication, everything. If you see here, division, floor division, so basically I'm assigning x the same value after doing this operation. X is equal to x star of y. You can just go through this uh, notebook, and I will share this notebook with you. You can go through this to understand everything. Next is comparison operators. What are comparison operators? To compare two different things, two different variable data, we are going to use the comparative operators. X, y, 10, 5, which means x is equal to y. Okay, is it true? No, it is false. Okay, so if you see here, 10 and 5 are not same, so this is false. Not equal to, yeah, these two are not equal, so it tells me false. Sorry, it tells me true. Greater than, lesser than, this is a simple mathematics that you get to use in everyday. Greater than or equal to functions. Okay, operators. Next is logical operators. We have and operator and or operator and not operator. Okay, if you see this and operator, both these conditions has to be uh, true. Only then this together will tell me, yeah, it is true. Okay, here or operator, either one of the either at least one of the condition has to be true, so that it tells true. It doesn't rely on both the conditions to be true. Okay, next is not operator, which is basically like x is equal to y. If it is like false, then I'm just negating it and telling it's true. Okay, here if you see x is equal to y, is x and y same? No, it is not same, which means it would have returned a false, but still I negated it. I basically negated it a false, and it tells me true. Okay, next is identity operators. X, y, z. Z takes the value of x. Okay, next x is y. Here we have this is operator. These are all simple stuffs which you can understand by just going through this PDF. Okay, yeah, notebook. Is not, is not, which is like opposite to is. Okay, so you can see the inputs and the outputs here to understand them. Next is membership operators. Membership operators in the sense, is this a part of this? Okay, I can check that thing. 1 2 3 4 5 in operator. Is 3 in my list? Yes, 3 is in my list, so true. Not in my list. 6 not in my list. Yes, 6 is not in my list, so true. Next is bitwise operators. It works on every, basically this is much more faster than any operation. Bitwise operators are usually asked in bit manipulation and data structures and algorithms during your FANG interviews as well. So it is very much important, and also this particular concept of XR is very, very important. Okay, so and same way it takes the both of this 1010 0101, it ANDs both, which means 0 0 0 0. Okay, means 0. Okay, when I AND this both, I'm getting 0. Okay, same way or operator, it takes these two binary digits and then checks if at least one is true and then returns true or false. Next is XOR. Next is not for x, negating, yeah, the negating operator. Next is the left shift. Next is the right shift, which means it just shifts the bits left and right. Okay, next is a list. Okay, here I have defined a list called a star collection, where I have different types of stars. Okay, we are starting with the list now. To just print this list, I can put the star collection. Next is to access this particular each and every element, star collection of 0, which means it goes and takes the series. This is, if you see the indexing, 0 1 2 3 4, so 0 goes and sits, takes this one. What does -1 mean? It means the last entry in the list. Okay, -2 means last before entry. -3 means this one, -4, -5. Okay, so this is important. This is possible in Python, and this is not possible with C++ or Java. I'm not sure about Java, but in C++ this is not possible. Okay, slicing in list. Basically, star collection 1:4. I'm just taking the first, second, third, and fourth entries, okay, which means I'm not taking this one. The index of this is 0, okay, not 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, basically those 4 values are present in this after printing it. Okay, next is star collection 2 of alpha, which means I'm going and actually changing the data that is present. Okay, 0, 1, 2. Before it was Proxima Centauri or something. After making a change, it was Alpha Centauri. Okay, next is adding the element. Star collection dot append. Okay, you have a list existing already. I want to add something, then I can use this append command to add this Polaris, and finally you will get the Polaris also here, okay, in the list. After we got Polaris got appended. Okay, how do you remove something? Star collection dot pop 3, which means it pops the value that is in the 3. Popping is nothing but removing the value from the list at the specific index 3. Okay, after removing, you see that the index in the third one, which is like Antares, is actually missing here, which means it is actually removed as it was in the third index. Length of the list, just put a length and star collection. Sorting the list, sort it. Okay, the function sorts it. If it is a string, it actually sorts based on the alphabetical order. Okay, it's then star collection dot reverse, which means it reverses the complete entry in the string. For example, you see a is equal to 1783. Okay, when I apply a reverse, a is equal to 3871 is displayed. Okay, you understood, right? Reversing actually reverses the complete list itself, but sorting sorts it based on the ascending order. Okay, by default it does in ascending order. If I want this to do in descending order, I can just do sort reverse is equal to true, which means it sorts in descending order. Okay, next is clearing the data. This is all easy to understand. Next is iterating list. How do you iterate a list? Okay, I have declared something like names for I in names, which means I will take the, while iterating through this list, it will take each and every value from each and every index of the list. I is Gautam, Dinesh, Vijay. One by one, it just prints it. Okay. One more way of printing it is directly indexing the data. For I in range of length of list. What is the length of the names? It is 3. Okay, as there are 3 entries, and range of length of the thing is totally range of 3. Okay, so basically what happens, for I becomes 0, 1, 2, and in names I'm just indexing the value. Names has these names of I is 0 will take this one, this one, this one, like that. Okay, next is list comprehension. Okay, before doing a list comprehension, how do I iterate through the array? I have declared something like I names. Okay, there is a names list which is already declared. There is an I names which is already declared. Okay, but if you see here, for I in names, if the character I is present in any of the words, okay, one by one, when it is iterating through the values, if any of these words has I in them, then it will only pick them and append it to the I names list. Okay, for this I have to write a for loop like this. Okay, instead this is before using list comprehension. If I'm planning to use the after list comprehension, I can just define it in this one single line. This complete thing gets going in this particular one single line itself. What I have written here, same way for name in this names list. Okay, if I is present in this name, okay, that is what, if I is present in the name, okay, then put that name in the list. Okay, this does the same thing, but before and after list comprehension, how the code looks like. That is what you need to understand. Okay, next is simple list comprehension, where you are going to have the values from 0 to 10 x. For x in the range of 10, put the values of x. Okay, next is sorting in the reverse, like I told, sort reverse is equal to true. Copy the list, just put a actual list, and the list name dot copy will copy the values in the list. Tuple is nothing but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, first element in the tuple is 1, so it goes and picks here. If you see here -1, what does it pick? It picks the last element in the tuple. Okay, next is slicing a tuple. Next is slicing a tuple. Okay, 1 to 4, which means it picks the 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the index, these three indexes are alone picked. Okay, 2, 3, 4. Next is tuple unpacking. This is a packed tuple. Okay, when I print it, I'm getting 1, 2, 3. It automatically understands. Okay, tuple unpacking A, B, C. I'm assigning this packed tuple to this one, which means A will get the value of 1, B gets 2, C gets 3. Okay, that is what packed and unpacked tuple means. Next is immutability of tuples, which means I told before, right? The tuples are actually immutable and you can't actually go and modify the data or in a specific index inside the tuple. Okay. You see here, attempting to modify the tuple will raise an error. I have declared a tuple here. If you see here, I'm trying to modify this 0th element to change to 10, which means I'm trying to modify this index to 10. But if I execute that, it will raise an error. Okay. Next is length of the tuple, just the length function. Concatenation, use this plus operator to concatenate the whole tuple so that you will get the complete tuple data. Next is count the occurrences of the variable. In this tuple, how many threes are present? Okay, you can do that count. Tuple need not contain only unique values. It can contain duplicate values. List also same way. It can contain duplicate values. Okay. Next is index value. Okay, index value is equal to my tuple dot index. What is present on the fourth index? Okay, if you see here, what is present? 0, 1, 3. So fourth index, what is present? 3 is present, so it just prints 3. Okay, no, sorry. So what happens is 4 is the number I wanted to find the index for. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is found in the third index. Okay, so it just prints 3 here. Next is tuple and data types. Okay, so if you see here, names is equal to, inside a tuple I have declared a Vijay, but still if you see, the type is str. Okay, but here I have put a comma, so it understood that there is something else maybe coming up, so it's telling it's a tuple. Okay, so understand this, the declaration of not having comma, having comma, so there is a difference here. Next is tuple unpacking with star operator, which means first city, middle city, last city. What happens here? First city goes and points to this, middle city will point to all the this, and the last city will point to San Antonio. Okay, if you see here, New York, and the middle city points to star, since we have used a asterisk here. Last city is this. Okay, next is sets. Okay, sets, we don't allow it to have duplicates. Okay, creating a set, you can just declare like this to create a set, and then that when you print it, you will see the values here. Okay, there is another set. This is using a set constructor method. Okay, this is another way of actually declaring sets itself. What are all the operations that you do in set? During our 10th classes, what we will learn is like union, intersection. There are different functions, right, which we used to draw some Venn diagrams, understand the symmetric differences. So we could apply all of those in the set data structure. Okay, if you see here, union will contain all the values, intersection will contain the values that is intersecting in overlapping between both of the sets. Same way difference, symmetric difference. Just be knowful about what is the operator that is being used. Okay, here XOR operator, this is the difference, and all these operators have been used here. Okay, next is, and also understand what is the difference between normal difference and a symmetric difference. Okay, so that is there. Next, modifying a set. I can add a data like this, and I can remove the data from the set like this. Okay, next is dictionaries. Okay, dictionaries, like it's an unordered collection. Key value, key value, key value. A key can't repeat twice. Okay, the value need not be a string or int. It can again also be a dictionary. Okay, that is called as nested dictionaries. I will go to that next. Okay, so this is another way of actually declaring a dictionary. This is the constructor method of actually declaring a dictionary. Okay, next is how to access the values in the dictionary. We learned this. Then how do I actually go and change the value? Okay, city is being modified to Bangalore in this particular dictionary. Job is modified to engineer. Okay, next is del of age, which means this particular key will be totally removed. If you see in this last case, the age is not present. Okay, next is what are all the different methods. Okay, keys in the dictionary. mydic.keys tells me name, city, job. Values, Gautam, Bangalore, engineer. Okay, so items, it tells both the keys and values. Okay, key value, key value. Okay, usually while using for loop, we use this one to actually do like for key comma value and idic items. Okay, so, see, I have done this. Dic.items, which means it takes both key and values. I use the key and value variable. Key picks this particular name, value picks this particular value. Okay, it then keeps iterating one by one to each of them. Okay, next is nested dictionaries. Like I told before, John is a key which holds a dictionary. Okay, inside this dictionary, I have another key. Okay, if you see here, how do you access this? I will just first put employee, then I will want to take this John and then his age. I can just index it like this. Overall, the indexing will look like this. Okay, modifying the nested, basically just again indexing the dictionary and actually modifying the value like that. Okay, if else statements, x is equal to 3. If x is greater than 5, do this elif. Okay, in C++ you will do else if, but here it is elif. Okay, elif you do this, else you do this. Okay, if both these conditions fails, do this. Okay, this else is an optional one. Okay, next is like nested if statements. If x is greater than 5 and if y is greater than 2, if both of these conditions are true, then go and print this ahead. Else come to this and print this one. Okay, next is ternary operators. What are ternary operators? X is declared to 10. Okay, if x is greater than 5, yes, x is greater than 5. Okay, so it automatically goes and picks this value. If it is not greater than 5, it will just go and print take this value. Okay, next is the pass. X is equal to 5. X equal to 5 means pass. Okay, it passed the statement, which means it just, instead of avoiding an error here, if you just put a pass here, it just skips it and moves to next. Okay, here if you see, I have declared loops. It is a list where I'm iterating to. For fruit, in fruits, I'm just looping the list. While loop, same way, it starts with while I is lesser than or equal to whatever the condition it is, and then keep the loop doing. Next is an example of loop control statements. Basically, like what are break and continue? What is a break and continue? For I in range of 1, 10, if I is equal to 5, the moment it goes and meets 5, it just breaks. Which breaks means it stops the loop and comes out. Okay, if it is 3, it doesn't execute what is present here. Okay, continue. It skips whatever is present here and goes back to the loop and starts executing from 4, 5, 6. But break, it just stops it right away there. Example of next nested loops. For I in range of 1, 4, for j in range of 1, 4. So there are two loops here. The time complexity is again order of, okay, I don't want to confuse you, but the time complexity here is order of n square. We will discuss all of them later. Okay. Next is examples of loop with else block. So for I in range of 5, prints I. Once it is completed, it just prints loop completed without breaking. Okay, we can use the if statement with for loops as well. For character in Gautam, okay, if I do this, it takes each and every character and goes through, iterates over the string. Range of 0 to 30, it prints everything from 0 to 30. Okay, you see here, this is from 0 to 30. Next is for range of 0 to 30, increment in the steps of 5. 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, which means it increments in the step of 5. Make sure it starts from 0. This was an interview question to me and I answered it wrong. Okay, so starts with 0, goes till 30, but doesn't print the value 30. You can see 30 is not printed here, 30 is either not printed here. Okay, greet. Okay, what are functions and what are lambda functions is the next thing that we are going to define. Okay, every function in Python starts with def. Okay, greet, hello, welcome to Python. If I call this particular function, it prints hello, welcome to Python. Name is taken as a variable input here, which means greet this, whatever the name goes in. Hey, hello Alice, hello Bob, like that. Default country, if there is, okay, Sweden, I am from Sweden. When I'm calling this greet function with Sweden, I am from Sweden. India, it from India. When I don't mention anything here, it takes the value which is by default defined here as Norway, and it prints I am from Norway. Okay, that is what default variables in a function is. Variable number of arguments. I don't know how many arguments will be present for this particular function. In this case, I can use this particular hash trick, which helps me understand the variable, take the input of variable number of parameters and then process it. Here names is equal to Gautam Sivam, okay, which is only one data that is going in. If you see here, I'm passing this names and it picks the first index of the names. Okay, Sivam is picked, which is the first index. Recursive function, simple factorial function where it helps to actually define recursion. So starts with def factorial. If you see here, this is called as a base condition. Okay, the very important thing in a recursive function is defining the base condition. If you don't define this, it will just keep going on recursively to the whole memory, and it breaks at some time, stating that error that the memory has been like totally exhausted. Okay, that will be an error. So if I define this, when it comes to 0, it just stops and returns the whatever the value it is. Okay, why is it called as a recursive function? Okay, here I am calling a function inside the function, which is again the same function. What happens here? Phi is being called, phi comes inside. So what happens? Phi into factorial of 4. Okay, again what happens here? 4 into factorial of 3. Okay, same way again 3 into factorial of 2. So what happens? Assume you got a 1 here, so it returns a 3 here, so 3 comes here, 4 into 3 will become 12 here, again 12 will go here, 5 into 12 will become some 60, I guess. So 60 will be there, 60 will be there. Okay, so okay, maybe 120. So 120 is the final answer. Okay, that's how recursion works. Like basically calling the same function inside another function is called as recursion. There is a this can be explained something like a recursion tree. We will all go in depth when we are actually preparing for data structures, all of them. But as of now, this much knowledge is enough as a starting basics. Okay. Next is lambda functions. Okay, what is the difference between normal function and a lambda function? With a normal function, the function itself will look large, and also like this lambda functions helps us to define the function in a very short way. If you see here, I have defined a function called a square here, and I have used this mentioned that this is a lambda function which has a value x, and this is the operation that you are going to perform on this value x. Okay, so how do I use this, call this function now? Result is equal to square of phi. Okay, square, and I'm sending the phi here, so phi goes here, phi star star of 2 is 25, which is basically 5 into 5. Okay, and it prints me 25 here. You understood, right? Next is using a map function here. So same way I have declared a lambda function, and this numbers is a list of numbers where I'm using this map function to apply this particular lambda function on the numbers on the numbers list. Okay, so what is done? Map the lambda function that needs to be executed, comma the numbers. Okay, next is filter operator. First we saw map, next is filter. Okay, to filter even numbers from a list, anything you can apply. Here I'm taking an example of filtering the even numbers. Here I have the number from 1 to 10. I want to filter the number that has only even numbers. Okay, here we defined a lambda function, which is basically the condition that it has to meet for being an even number. Then finally, we, after using this filter function, applying this function to the numbers, we get the value even numbers. Okay, only these are present. Next is lambda function with sorted to sort an array, sort a list of tuples based on the second element. Okay, I have a list of tuples. Okay, list of tuples means there is a list. Okay, there is a list where there are multiple tuples. Okay, this kind of initialization is also possible with Python. Okay, but I wanted to sort this based on the second character. How do I do this? Okay, sorted pairs, which is this variable, but pick the first character of the tuple. That is what this lambda function means here. Okay, now it returns based on the first. A, B, C is actually a character, so A comes first, B comes first, C comes first. Instead of the first number, it takes the first character. Okay. Next is, if I have to define a lambda function to double the input, what is a lambda function? So this is same, like simply taking in the actual number, and then I can define this particular inside a function. I can define a lambda function as well. So here operation, the number comes in, which is actually 5. I'm doing a 5 into 2 here, and I'm returning, I'm applying this particular double function here, and I'm returning the result here, which gets me the result as type, which means 5 into 2. This operation is executed. Okay, so basically I guess you will be clear with list, sets, dictionaries, and all the basic data structures and data types, and also int variables. So this much is sufficient to make a normal code. This is particularly not very comprehensive enough to write a production level good code, but still this is how you write a simple function in Python. Okay, so on the upcoming videos, I'm planning to actually do some kind of data analysis with Python. Also planning to do some kind of first, let me finish the NumPy, Matplotlib, and SciPy, each and every libraries one by one. And once after finishing them, I will start giving you the content that where we use this actually in real life for performing some data analysis. I will bring up some interesting case studies to perform the data analysis on some random data to actually explain how it goes here. Okay, so please subscribe to my channel, and thank you.